Get ready to dive into the comic book realm, where heroes rise and villains take the helm. We're here to dissect the stories and the art. On source material, we tear the panels.
I feel like I've been wanting to do something on this character for a while. It's a character that's always been on the fringe of my knowledge of 90s comics. So I'm going to use this spooky holiday season to dive into and learn about Evil Ernie. We're going to go through the trade paperback of Evil Ernie 1 through 5 from 1991, originally published by Eternity Comics. It then switched over to Chaos Comics. I don't know anything about this character other than what I used to see on the covers of comic books in the 90s. I guess the best way to describe what I remember seeing was this almost like metal head of a character. Somebody has a leather jacket on, scraggly hair, but I had no idea what it was about. Evil Ernie. Okay. So we're going to hop into the trade here. The title of this story is Youth Gone Wild, created and written by Brian Pulido, illustrated by Stephen Hughes. Brian Pulido. Last name is spelled Pulido. Let's see what the wiki has on him. So he is credited for creating or written or co-written Lady Death, Purgatory, Chastity, Smiley the Psychotic Button. And then we have... there's some Insane Clown Posse books, Megadeth books out there. Probably the stuff for World Wrestling Federation, the WWF comics that were coming out. Meanwhile, Stephen Hughes, I guess he's the one I should probably credit for the art that I recognize. Lady Death, Evil Ernie, probably some of the other stuff. Well, looks like he passed away in 2046. After a long battle with cancer. Oh, that's sad. Born in 54 and then died on February 18th, 2000. That is sad. 46 years old. Okay, well, let's hop into this to see what we get. Evil Ernie, Youth Gone Wild. Letters by Ronald Cruz and Tim Eldred. Dedicated to Mom for lighting the fire and Dad for pouring gasoline on it. Okay. That's from Brian Pulido. And Stephen Hughes says, to my son Chance, Kid Chaos. Chapter 1, Chaos Rules. It looks like this is going to be black and white. Evil Ernie Fairchild, it looks like, is his full name. And it says this is his fantasy. I've got to say, the art for this black and white book is really good. I'm only like 2 or 3 pages in. There's this trio of what looks like maybe a mother, father, and a kid holed up in this house, this boarded up house. Zombies are coming towards and breaking into the house. The zombies have essentially captured the family, and Evil Ernie has arrived. He pulls a axe out of like this zombie's head and kills what I guess is the dad. It's the older person of the 3 that are there, and the lady and the young man take off running out of the house into what appears to be a graveyard. The zombies take down both the woman and the kid, and the kid is saying, "Why, Ernie, why?" And Ernie looks with this demonic grin and says, "For love." It's Lady Death. He loves Lady Death. Lady Death is spurning on the killing, but then Ernie wakes up, and he is actually a rather disturbed individual inside of a rubber room at a mental hospital. All right, so we cut to a family sitting around a table. We got a young girl named Julia, a lady by the name of Mary, a young boy named Billy, and an older teen by the name of Rick. Mary's talking about Evil Ernie at the hospital. It's like she works with him or something, as in like he's a patient there and she is trying to help him, and he's a product of depraved, abusive parents. So Mary is not the mom, because these kids are asking, "Mary, can you make us a real breakfast?" Oh, maybe that's like the older sister. Yeah, I think that's the older sister. If Mom and Dad were alive, they'd be proud of you. We are. Okay, so Mary is off to Clearview Mental Institution. And Dr. Price, the head of the facility, has arrived, and he is outraged that Ernie Fairchild is still alive, I guess. Okay, so this is the first time she's visiting the institution, so she must be aware of Evil Ernie. Yeah, she's there to try and help Ernie. Dr. Price seems to be a little suspicious. Doesn't think Evil Ernie's worth even trying to save. Ernie killed his family at breakfast, then went down the block and systematically killed 35 people. Killed 12 more when they captured him. Oh, and Evil Ernie gets loose and he's attacking the guards. Just as Dr. Price and Mary are outside of his room, Ernie is killing everybody that's stepping into that room practically. Oh, well, it looks like almost everybody's okay. They weren't dead after all. They were beaten up pretty good. Dr. Price comes in there with this massive gun, has this gun right to the head of Ernie, and they grab the straitjacket and put it back on him. Mary is not deterred whatsoever. She is excited. She gets the opportunity to try and work with Ernie here. Ernie is knocked out with some drugs and starts to dream about his childhood, his abusive parents. Sign him up for some type of experimental therapy. This probe will correct any emotional aberrations with a simple case of withdrawal. This should go very easy. This will keep you from sleepwalking. So they got him strapped down. They got stuff on his head. This will keep you from sleepwalking. They tie him to the bed. It looks like shock therapy. So this is all happening in Ernie's past when he was a child. He gets zapped real good. They call it the dream probe. So I assume they're causing him to deal with his mind in some way. So when they zap him, he ends up in a graveyard. He sees a statue of his parents who come to life, and now they're coming after him. You're always late. That's not right. Your room is a mess. Tracking mud into the house. We've had enough. Well, he grabs the belt. He's going to beat the love into him. Just then, lightning strikes and Lady Death appears. When she slices his parents, this is a dream. Lady Death is like murder. It's rather simple. He wakes up, he's all smiles, he comes out of the probe and he's like, I met a lady, she loves me. He goes home with his mom and dad. Oh boy. So we switch back to Mary talking to Dr. Price, and she's asking him if he's ever thought of something called neurotech. Flashback to when Dr. Price walked in on the murder scene of Ernie's parents. Oh, so it was Dr. Price that did the dream probe thing, I guess. Blames himself for creating a murderer. So there's some kind of skeezy commissioner meeting with Mary, who must be helping fund neurotech. He's like, we're going to make history, Mary. As long as it helps people, I'm happy. Ooh, Julia wakes up from a nightmare. Says she has a premonition that Ernie guy, he murdered us, all of us. Mary shows up at the institution the next day, and stuff is being unloaded into the institution. The neurotech has arrived. All right, let's get into chapter 2. This story is titled The Cure That Kills. Lady Death is again talking to Ernie in his fantasy. And here's Ernie on a tank leading a Legion of the Dead into the White House. They broke through the wall, Mr. President. And the military is trying to hold off all these zombies and Ernie. So the president says, if anybody finds this thing and you want to know why the human race was wiped out, it was for love. The epitaph of humanity. Love conquers all. As Evil Ernie steps in and shreds the president with broken glass. And the zombies are going to eat him up. Lady Death is so pleased that he would do this for her. She hates the living. Dr. Price is still upset with Mary and does not believe that she can cure Ernie. Our commissioner's name's Commissioner Stone. Okay, so Mary, is it Mary Young? They say that she's developed a dream probe which removes mental disorder. This is neurotech. Dr. Price is adamant that a dream probe is a bad idea. It could enhance the mind link that Ernie has with death. Interesting that he knows that. Commissioner Stone is the commissioner of the asylum. He fired Dr. Price because Dr. Price got in his face and told him to call it off. They get the probe all set up. You remember the arcade game Afterburner that you could sit down and play? That's what it kind of reminds me of. More open on the front end. After they finish, Dr. Price comes in with his gun. He plans on killing Ernie. Breaks into Ernie's cell. Has the gun turned on Evil Ernie and is about ready to pull the trigger when a bunch of the security guards come in and tackle him. Dr. Price is holding his own, though, punching, has the gun on him, and then gets the butt of a rifle to the back of his head and gets knocked out. Dr. Price wakes up in his own padded cell. Back at the home of the Youngs, Julia is trying to explain that she's had these bad premonitions of Ernie, but Mary's like, no, this experiment will work. And the next day they have Ernie strapped into the dream probe, the neurotech, and they put him to sleep. Ernie wakes up in the dream realm, and there's Lady Death flying above, waiting to talk to him. Lady Death is right there, hovering above Ernie. Ernie, by the way, in real life looks like a regular, like I said, a regular person. In this dream realm, he is skeletal, ghoulish, And Lady Death says, with great power comes great responsibility. To those you love, come to me. And just as Ernie is about to embrace, Lady Death says, kiss me. And Mary hits the dream purge button, and the whole shebang explodes, frying Ernie. Mary's obviously upset. She didn't expect anything like that to happen. She wanted to cure him. But now it appears Ernie Fairchild is dead. Mary's trying to break the news to Commissioner Stone since he funded Neurotech. He wants her to lie and say it was a success and to come over and celebrate with some officials that were invited to his house and pretend that it worked. One of the nurses is looking over Ernie's body, and she said, I was going to give you this when you got better. Everything could have been so nice, and you would have lived happily ever after. She puts a smiley face pin on him, and the smiley face ends up being the psychotic smiley because it transforms into this thing that has this crazy looking smile, these bones, kind of like the poison sign. If you've ever seen the poison, it's not really a smiley, but yeah, has a devious grin on its face. And when she does that, Ernie comes to life. This time he looks like he does in his dream realm. Ghoulish, skeletal. He grabs his leather jacket and then grabs her hair and rips her head straight off of her body. Oh boy. Ernie is gone out and about. He's about to face off with some security guards. Kills one with a mop. They start pulling guns and unloading on him. And he is just killing them left and right. It appears that he can then reanimate the dead because they are security officers that he killed are now back to life. One of them with their head on backwards. Dead ones walk. They listen. They kill. Well, he sent them out. They killed more people in this asylum. They all are becoming his undead army. And Mary calls, and Ernie picks up the phone. She asks if he could check on Nurse Goodwill. Apparently, she didn't realize it was Ernie. And he hangs up after telling her that she's dead. Dr. Price, in a straitjacket in a rubber room, trying to figure out what's going on. He can hear all the chaos going on outside. Meanwhile, Ernie is like, come on, friends, let's go play. And that's where we end issue 2, heading into issue 3. There was a security guard that quit in the first issue, but he got a job as a hearse driver, and he has to go back, and he's wondering who he has to pick up. And sure enough, it's Ernie. He quit because of Ernie and how Ernie creeped him out. Now he has to go back, and he's going to pick up Ernie's dead body. Oh boy, Ernie shows up. He grabs the security guard, the former security guard, and rips him in half, lengthwise. Ernie hops on the hood of this hearse, and all the dead pile into the hearse, and he's off. They're driving to wherever they're going to go. She ends up getting sideswiped by Ernie on his way out, flips the car over. Mary's little VW bug is overturned. She swears it was Ernie on the hood of that car. Now she's a little worried. There's a block party going on, and Ernie has them drive the car straight into a bunch of people, killing a ton of people. The mayor was on the microphone when this happened, welcoming everybody to the block party. Oh, the humanity. He recognizes Ernie. A couple policemen show up. They start unloading their weapons into Ernie. Ernie says, dead ones are my friends. You be my friends. And he kills both of the police officers, running his skeletal hands right through their chests. Back at the institution, Mary is horrified at the amount of death that has occurred there, and is able to find the only person alive, Dr. Price. Dr. Price is like, hey, we've got to go. Ernie's played you for a fool. And it looks like some of the dead are still there. They jump up and try to attack both Dr. Price and Mary. Dr. Young is her name, formal name. They're able to make it out alive, it appears. At Commissioner Stone's house, it looks like Mary Young's siblings are all there. Julia, Rick, and Billy. The investors are all restless and waiting for Mary to show up so they could celebrate the success. There's a knock at the door, and it's a bunch of dead people. One of them attacks Rick, but I thought her name was Julia. Well, anyway, Julia grabs a pool stick and flattens this one dead guy right in the face with it. And then Billy goes, that was rad, Jude. She says, that was gross, Billy. Everybody starts to realize the house is surrounded by dead people. The phone's dead. This is classic horror movie stuff right here. They decide to board the place up. Meanwhile, Mary and Dr. Price are gearing up. Dr. Price says he's prepared for this day. I don't know how Dr. Price even plans on killing Evil Ernie. The cops have just shot a bunch of holes into him. He's fine. He's already dead. Mary is having issues with killing him. She wants to cure him if possible, but she agrees to go along with Price, hops in this massive Jeep, and they're off. The town is burning. The dead are all over the place. Ernie raises his arms to the sky. All this for love, all for Lady Death. Lady Death is inside of his head, enjoying every little bit of it. Dr. Price seems to understand that he, with his experiment, apparently linked Ernie to Lady Death. So Mary says, "You're a psychotic psychotherapist. You're violent, you're paranoid, you're neurotic, you need help. What are you going to do when we meet up with Ernie? Suggest counseling, group therapy? He's a killing machine. The only way to stop him is to be worse than he is. You're not a doctor, you're a caveman." The police drive by as they're driving the Jeep into town, and of course it's filled with a couple dead who start shooting at him, and they crash into a tree. Price tells Mary to shoot them in the head. Seems to do the trick. They found Ernie, who's leading a band of people to kill more people. Price is off. He is heading to go kill him. Some of this art's kind of tough to follow. It looks like Doc Price charges towards Ernie, and Ernie grabs him by the head and says, "Doc, you die." But he's able to get away. He pulls out this massive pistol, has Ernie's head right in the sights. But what appears to be a skateboarding ghoul jumps in. Are these explosive rounds or something? What in the world is going on? Because he shoots, and the bullets look to go toward a couple of these ghouls that are coming at him, but, then it explodes. Oh, but Ernie's mad now, and they are surrounded. They must not be too far from the house, because Mary's family can see what's going on. Maybe they just saw the explosion, but they're peering out the boarded windows, and Julia's yelling, "They're breaking in, they're breaking in." All right, we get to issue 4, Mad Love and Mayhem. So I guess, like I said, I think the theory here that Dr. Price has is that Ernie has a mental link with all the dead that are attacking, and if they can kill Ernie, at least shoot him in the head, then that mental link goes away, the dead become dead again. His mission is mega death, spurred on by a temptress who possesses his mind, Lady Death. Dr. Price and Mary are trying to figure out a way out here. I'm guessing that Dr. Price's pistol, every time he fires it, there is massive explosions that happen. Or maybe there's a grenade. I think she mentions a grenade here in this. Who is throwing the grenade? Oh, she is. Okay. Yeah, she grabs a grenade and throws it into a bunch of them. It explodes, and Evil Ernie is like, "My friends." Ooh. Lady Death makes an appearance in the real world by going through the blood of Ernie's victims. Price sees her and says that's her. So I guess they were at Dr. Mary Young's home. I didn't realize this. So that's where Commissioner Stone was meeting with all these investors. Well, anyway, as they're sitting there in the house, the dead are still trying to get in. Billy takes one out with a slingshot. Looks like at the police station, they have been told to barricade a bridge so that nothing can get out of the town. Oh, all right. Well, the police have decided, nope, we're not going to do that. Even though they've been ordered to do so by the military, they are instead going into town to hunt some ghouls. And just as they open the door to go out, there's Ernie. And he just unloads and kills all the policemen, except for a couple. One guy says, "Get it in the head." And he's able to shoot it in the head. He shoots Ernie in the head. I thought it'd be Dr. Price that did this. And when he does that, all the dead start to feel his pain. But the pain subsides. Hit it in the head again. It didn't like that. Evil Ernie leaps at them and kills them. The military shows up at the police station, yelling for them to come out, and the dead start coming out, shooting. And there is a massive firefight. The dead begin to outnumber the living, to which they are overwhelmed, and now Ernie has more to add to his legion of undead. The investors have landed on blaming Mary for all the insanity, that the neurotech experiment was a failure, so she's going to take all the heat. Doesn't sit well with Mary's family. Ernie Fairchild is back in his dream world again. Lady Death is seducing him, removing her top. Can't see anything, though. But she tells him to come find her. She is his. Dr. Young and Dr. Price show up at the police office. Nobody's there. Bullet holes riddle the place. Mary's looking for her phone. But as their back is turned, here come the army of the dead, or the undead. And they're going into the police station. Dr. Price is surrounded. He knows he's going to die. He tells Mary to get out. get Ernie. So she busts through a window and escapes. So I'm kind of curious as to what Ernie's going to do here. He found Lady Death, who is naked. Can't see anything, though. She's covering herself. It's tasteful. And as he is about to take his prize, there's a knock at the door. And out of his fantasy, he is yanked. It's Mary knocking on the door of what appears to be a bar. So Ernie swings the door open, and there Mary is face to face with evil Ernie Fairchild. And that's where we end issue 4. We are heading into our final chapter, chapter 5, a story called Merciless Onslaught. Ernie has Mary by the throat. Oh, and he's looking at her, calling her mommy. She's like, I am not your mom, you monster. You made me, mommy. As he closes in on her, she yanks out a gun and shoots Ernie in the head. In suburbia, Ernie's army of the undead writhe in agony. Mary's kind of celebrating a little early because Ernie gets right back up. Ernie pins down Mary with some knives and says that he is going to go visit the family. So I assume Mary's brothers and sisters. He hops aboard a motorcycle, and granted, Mary's not stabbed. He did not kill her. He took 4 knives and pinned her shirt down to the ground. But he says he's going to go visit them for revenge. Oh, well, here come the dead to feast on Mary. But she's able to grab one of the knives and stab her way out of there. And she runs to her house. She rounds the back of a supply truck, and there's this hulking figure standing there. She grabs the knife. She's about to stab him and finds out that it's Dr. Price. He is still alive. She explains she shot Ernie in the head, and he's still alive. He says, we need stronger medicine. Channel 5 News is on the case here, telling everybody to keep their doors and windows locked, as there is a psycho plague. Martial law has been declared in New Jersey. The ghouls have taken over the TV station, and the lights go out at the Young house. They hear motorcycles outside, and one guy thinks that they're saved. Not the case. Commissioner Stone wants to sacrifice the kids to give them the opportunity to get out of there. Ernie shows up at the Young house and sends the dead inside. Commissioner Stone takes off running. People are getting killed left and right. One dude gets some fingers right into the eyes. Lady Death shows up out of the blood of one of the victims and tells Ernie that there is no time for what he's doing. He needs to go on his crusade to kill everybody. Lady Death is incensed that Ernie is doing what he's doing, wanting to go see the family. Billy, Julia, and Rick all seem to be trying to hold their own. As Julia and Billy try to escape, Julia grabs a long knife. As Billy turns around, he runs right into Ernie. Ernie reaches out to grab both of them, but Mary and Dr. Price show up and with some heavy artillery out of the supply truck. Mary says, get the hell out of my house. Ernie is looking to kill Julia, and Mary is pleading they've done nothing to you. Rick tries to make the save for his brother and sister, ends up getting stabbed in the shoulder. Mary gets Ernie's attention, and he comes charging at Mary. Mary hops onto this gun and just starts unleashing. It looks like some type of missile launcher. It blows up the house. Hopefully, I think she was able to tell Rick to get the kids out of there. And the house explodes. Ernie is now on fire. And he's saying, you missed, Mary. And now he's leaping. He's within arm's reach of Mary. But Dr. Price grabs him and throws him to the ground. Mary aims the rocket launcher at Ernie and then pulls the trigger. A massive explosion ensues. A large crater is left while all the dead drop to the ground. Evil Ernie has been destroyed. Lady Death sheds a tear. Somebody asks, where's Ernie? And Mary goes, I cured him. Inside the house, apparently, Commissioner Stone has lived. Stone picks up the psychotic smiley button, ends up pricking his finger on it, but Dr. Price finds Stone and yells at him. He wants to punch him so bad, but Mary talks him out of it. Looks like later, Commissioner Stone is at his home. He doesn't look like he's feeling too good. He's dressed in his robe, and on his arms, it looks like he's got a rash, but the bumps all resemble smiley faces. I will say, Stephen Hughes' art on this is great. For a black and white comic, I can understand why Evil Ernie became such a popular character. Lady Death, even, very popular character. If you guys remember Lady Death from the 90s, I thought I saw something about a movie. Maybe it's an animated movie, but she's not the Lady Death or Death from the Marvel Universe, that's for sure. Pale white skin, very large bust line, scantily clad, one of the bad girls of the 90s for sure. Evil Ernie, this was a good story. It seemed a bit cliche. However, this story came out in 91, so there are definite horror elements that it is using for a story told in 91 that here in 2024, I've seen a lot of 33 years later. So I could understand why people like this book and like this character. There's no shortage of Evil Ernie books, that's for sure. This was the first one. This came out in 91, but my gosh. Evil Ernie Lives, Evil Ernie from 2012, Evil Ernie Returns, Evil Ernie Baddest Battles, Evil Ernie Revenge, Evil Ernie Depraved, Evil Ernie the Resurrection, Evil Ernie Destroyer, Evil Ernie Monthly, Evil Ernie God Eater, Evil Ernie from 2014, Evil Ernie from 1998, Evil Ernie from 2021, from 1993, Evil Ernie Relentless, Evil Ernie Pieces of Me, Evil Ernie versus the Superheroes. This should be interesting. Yeah. I was taking a look to see if it was anybody that was from the Malibu universe, but that came out from Chaos, so doesn't look like it. We got Evil Ernie Straight to Hell, Evil Ernie Special Limited Edition, Evil Ernie in Santa Fe, Evil Ernie versus the Movie Monsters. The description is, in the same vein as the Evil Ernie versus the Superheroes series that pits Ernie in a what-if situation where Ernie gets to battle some of the all-time greatest movie monsters in a very one-sided confrontation. Then we have Evil Ernie Youth Gone Wild Encore, Evil Ernie War of the Dead, and Hack Slash The Final Revenge of Evil Ernie. That came out from 2005. That looks like it might be fun to read. Devil's Due Publishing, June of '05. What's the Youth Gone Wild Encore? Oh, was it just reprints? Yeah, I bet it's reprints. All right, well, there we go. That was fun. I now know a lot more about Evil Ernie and who this character is. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.